Thank you, everyone. It's 1 o'clock, and thank you, everyone, for joining us on our weekly webinar. Today, we're talking to two real estate legends, two people that I really admire, and that Sherry Chris, who is Sherry Chris is joining us, who is the CEO of Realogy's expansion brand, someone that I think have paved the way for a lot of women, a lot of executives. And, Sherry, thank you. I know you're super busy. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you, Alex.
And really sharing with us some of your wisdoms here. And John, somebody that I've admired my entire career. I live in LA, and John Aaroe, you are a legend. I've heard you speaking when I first started in my real estate career, and I haven't forgotten. So so thank you so much for joining. And the reason why we have this webinar every single week is to really help answer questions and really help folks that, whether it be a variety of different things through this pandemic. We started this about 7 weeks ago and have a really great following. And I've always been asked this question over and over again, like, what makes this pandemic different, or this downturn different than all the others? And so I thought to myself, who can I ask who's been through this before, who's led this industry through it? And of course, Sherry and John are just a wealth of information. So, if there's anything you want to add with the intro. I know I did a very quick one, but I feel like everyone knows the both of you, both legends in our industry. So, if there's anything you want to add, let me know. Or do you think we could just get started?
I think we can roll.
Let's get started.
Great. For the listeners and all the attendees that are here, please, we have a Q&A down in the chat box. And if you're on Facebook, the Propy team is here to take your questions, or the YouTube channel. So go ahead and write in your questions. And as we get them coming in, we're going to them. So feel free to do that, and we'll get to as many of them as John, Sherry, and I can during this webinar. So let's start with the question on most people's minds right now. Is this downturn, Sherry and John, different from the ones before? What are you seeing that's the same? What are you seeing that's different? Who wants to take that question?
John, you want to kick it off?
Sure. First of all, let me just say, I think we're very lucky this afternoon. We are in an industry that will survive. We will come out of this. There are a lot of people today wondering if their industry will even survive. Whether it be hospitality or cruises or whatever it may be, we're going to be fine. It's going to be a rough road, a long one, but we're going to be fine. This downturn bears no resemblance to anything we've ever been through before. It came upon us so quickly that nobody saw it coming. Nobody was prepared for it. And we didn't have the information to see when it's going to end. So we're really in this completely in the dark right now.
Yeah. What do you think? Well, it's unlike any other, but are you seeing similarities on how we're treating it, or what are some of the things that you're seeing that are the same? Even though this is a pandemic, which is different from some of the housing crises that we've seen in the past. But
I can jump in on this. If we look at the most recent downturn in our industry prior to this, it was the financial crisis of 08, 9, 10, and part of 11. And that was for a totally different reason. And if we look at what transpired, and John and I were both very much in the industry at that time as we are today, prices went down, business didn't come to a standstill. The real estate business and industry never comes to a standstill, because people always have to and want to buy and sell homes. So our industry is not going to go away. But that in the financial downturn was really, and that recession that followed was all about finance and the mortgage industry, the banks, the real estate industry, et cetera. This is a global health concern. a global pandemic. And so if we look at, and I have access to information all across the country, if we look at what's taking place here, prices are not going down. So we're not in a financial crisis at all. We just need to get through, find the vaccine, determine that we're not going to have another round of this, and start to work our way out of it. So it's very, very different that way. It's also different because today we cannot leave our homes, most of us. And so, in many respects, we're looking for, and I know we're going to get to a question around this, we're looking for new ways of doing things because we're literally stuck in our homes. Any previous downturn in the industry or financially, we were still able to go out and try and do business. So it's extremely different and very, very interesting as to how we're managing and handling it.
Got it. Well, what types of advice are you, Sherry, giving your agents and brokers right now? If you can give us, if we were in your brokerage, what are you telling your agents and brokers to do right now to prepare for? It sounds like we're going to be reopening a lot of these communities pretty soon here. What advice are you giving them?
Well, it's such this is a very fast moving thing. So the type of advice that I would have given, let's say 6 weeks ago, is very different than the advice that I'm giving today. But my first piece of advice is this is not time off. This is game on. And we all need to have our A games not ready to go. We need to be working as hard as ever today, just doing things differently. That's my first piece of advice. The second is for agents, and I gave this advice very early on, and I'll give it again today, is to go deep in your communities. Because as we come out of this, I believe that consumers will be looking for deeper relationships with real estate agents. And so go deep into your communities by giving back to the community, by reaching out to people you haven't talked to for a long time, by reaching out to people who are not able to go out or have contact with other people. Look for new business now. That's number two. Number three is do not take your listings off the market. And I'm thinking that, John, you'll agree with me on this. People are looking for real estate, all of us, myself included.
Yes.
And, Alex, you said, and John and I were talking before, we're tired of our homes right now because
yes,
we've been sitting in here for an awful long time. And our business is going to explode. Don't wait for that to happen. Make sure that you're out in front of it now. And John, you've probably got some great advice too.
People are looking for information right now. That's what we're craving. It's a great opportunity to reach out to people and be candid. We have great resources that we can pull from. But the truth is, we really don't know the duration of this, but we'll keep our clients informed. We'll talk to them. We'll reach out to them now. I'm amazed at how many people I've heard from in the last month and a half that I haven't talked to in 5 or 10 years. And it felt great to hear from them and to see names pop up again that I hadn't seen in a while. So you're reaching out now. It's really the right moment. It's the right thing to do. And as Sherry said, get involved in the community. We're going to come out of this a very different kind of industry and country, and I think a very authentic one. Mm-hmm. We're going to care about our neighbors more and our neighborhoods more. That's what we do.
Right.
It
well,
is what we do.
I think that's absolutely right. I'm hearing that from a lot of brokers and agents to really dig deep into the communities and and I like what you say, Sherry. It's really game on right now, and I think that the agents that are going to come out of this and brokers that are come out of this like really strong are working really hard right now.
They are.
They're working really, really hard right now. And so, can you give me some examples of because what are some of the traits that you've seen? For what are some of the things that you've seen that agents do? And I feel like that there's definitely a trait of folks that that these are the few things that they would be doing. And John, you had actually shared some of those traits with me, or some of the tactics, and I could actually share them with the audience right now as well, that you think are like the 5 things that every agent should be doing, their survival guide. So I'm going to actually share these 5 things.
Okay.
And John,
Great.
if you can explain to us like what those things are and what do you mean by that? Because you and I had a conversation about, these are the 5 things that you could tell right away if, someone, if they are doing these things, they're going to be just fine.
The first one is showing up every day. You've got to show up every day for life. It's going to be on your doorstep whether you want it or not. So people are afraid right now. You have to get past that. You have to show up every day, and you have to just be present. In your relationship with your clients right now, I think it's really important to understand who you are. This is not a moment. They're looking for somebody who is a professional, who is a fact finder. They want to know information right now. The same way that your CPA or your doctor or your lawyer has a very professional relationship with you, I think that's what people are looking for right now. You've got to get over disappointment fast. If you're going to wallow in disappointment, I have a rule in life, 24 hours and I'm over it. I had a call one time from Air Force One. The President and Mrs. Reagan asked me to find a house for them. I did. We wrote an offer, full price offer, and the seller, Neil Simon, opted not to sell. Talk about disappointment. You've got to get over those things. This is a time, don't wallow in it. You are going into a new career basically today. You have to decide if it's one that you're up for, that you want to take on, because you have to start your day thinking about your career, and you have to end your day when you go to bed thinking about it as well. But it's going to be a new one. It's going to be much more virtual, obviously. And the bricks and mortar are going to go away. So it's going to be a very different kind of a career than you've had. Every time that our economy changes and society changes, we have to watch how we treat those changes and react to them, and our dialogue has to change with it. Sherry's comment about getting involved in the neighborhoods right now is getting in alignment with what's going on. Don't live in the past. What worked a year ago is very inappropriate to be talking about today.
Right. Well, I like what you say about choose your new career, because it's going to be different. we're already all feeling how working is different. Of course, yes, we're working from our homes, but really, even when we are going back, I think it's definitely going to be a change. And and we're definitely hearing about leases not being renewed and offices getting smaller, or physical offices getting smaller. So that is definitely something that I completely agree on, and we can definitely elaborate on that. I would love to get Sherry's take on what the new normal is going to be when all of our communities open up, and what she feels that's going to be. And then if you could explain number 5, John.
Sherry commented on it earlier. Get ready right now for what's going to come. This is the moment you've got to be learning all the tools that you have in your tool chest. The adoption rate for a lot of the great tools that all the companies have is pathetically low. This is your moment to be working hard, showing up, and getting ready for the market when the market opens. It's going to open, and get ready for it now.
So what do you think the new normal is going to be in the next few weeks? This is the $1 million question. What is the new normal going to look like? Because I think we can all agree that is not going to be the same.
It's not going to be the same. It's not. And, if you talk about new normal, and it's one of those, buzz phrases that is getting a lot of overuse right now, just like the word pivot, we're pivoting. It's going to be a long change, just like anything is. But let me just share a couple of thoughts and ideas with you, Alex and John. So number 1 is that we're all in sales here. So I'll share that at Realogy, the company that I work for, there's a race on right now to see who is going to sell the first virtual franchise. So, and we sold over the past the 3 weeks, one weekend we sold 5 franchises in one weekend, which is really unheard of. It's never happened. And that was during COVID, and because people want partnership and alignment, and they want a business partner to have. So that's one change that's going to happen, is that people will gravitate towards brokers and companies and brands where they feel that they have a true partnership. That's going to be very important. But think about the physical space as well. So for us, we've got offices all around the world, actually, but our global headquarters is in Madison, New Jersey, and we have 320,000 square feet there. It's a campus with, you know, all sorts of things in there, gym, cafeteria, etc. And we closed it on March 13th. We're not sure how to reopen it because you can't just open up the floodgates and have 1,000 people go in and be seated side by side right now. So what we're doing is brainstorming different scenarios. Do we have half the people come in 2 days a week, 1 week, and then 3 days a week the next? Do we have everyone work at home for the time being? We have, what we've done is employee surveys. We've looked at the space to see how we can reconfigure it. These are the same things that brokers should be doing, agent teams, and even individual agents, thinking about how am I going to work differently? If I was selling real estate right now, what I would want to do is be able to tell some very positive stories. One story being that I just completed a virtual sale where the owner took their own pictures of the property and we listed it, and then the buyer never looked inside. Now that's a great story for the future because it's going to help other potential customers, buyers and sellers of real estate feel comfortable doing business with us. So I'd be looking for innovative ways to continue our business today. And, you know, as John points out, not just wait for things to happen.
Right. I love that you shared with us what's happening right now with really franchises and more people wanting to partner up, because I think that's so key. I mean, we just did a couple of series where we talked about, you know, cost cutting and, you know, a bunch of very difficult conversations. And what you're saying, Sherry, is people are right now looking for partnerships. And what I'm also seeing is there, I mean, I had Mauricio last week and he's, you know, he's having the same experience. There's so many talks of consolidation and, you know, how can we take what we have, and, you know, so I'm glad that I'm really happy that you're sharing that. But what are you seeing that are most important, and, you know, what are the things that, you know, folks are looking for right now when they're looking to make a move and, you know, perhaps purchase a franchise or things or something like that at a time where, you know, they don't know what the future holds?
Well, you know, I think that nobody wants to be out on an island all by themselves right now. And, you know, there's no shame in feeling that way. We all have felt it over the past several weeks where, you know, we've had moments of feeling alone and what's going to happen in the future, et cetera. And so today, more than ever, I think that we're craving the, you know, human connection and to have a true partnership coming out of this, because, you know, as we've been talking for the past 15 minutes, none of us really knows what it's going to physically look like afterwards. And we shouldn't worry about downsizing offices, office space, and furloughing people. We have to do, as business owners and as teams, we have to do what needs to be done. And, you know, as I notice other companies out there, some jumped in immediately and made those tough decisions. And, you know, I mean, my compensation has been cut. We all took, you know, a significant pay cut to get through this and make sure that our brokers and our agents are able to still have the same services and, you know, same technology without an interruption to their business. And so we've all had to give a bit. The companies that have not done that quickly, I think will, suffer more later on. And that could be, a problem for those companies. It's tough to make decisions. It really is. But, John, you and I, we've known each other for years, and we've been through a lot in this industry together. And I'm guessing you agree with what I just said.
Absolutely. Right? This is an industry that has talked about radical change for a long time and then slowly moved in that direction. Something positive has to come out of this, and it's forced the changes that we've been talking about for the longest time. It compressed them in a very tight timeline, but it made it all happen. We're going to come out of it a more efficient industry, a more cost-effective industry, and
we
stronger.
Are. And when we think about, I launched the Better Homes and Gardens real estate brand in 2008, which was not a good time financially to be launching a new entity. And I had people come up to me and say, oh, they are, I don't know who they were, but they're saying you'll be out of business in a year. Well, that didn't happen. But that's because I was focused on what the job was at hand. And even back then, if I look at the national numbers, in the height of the, boom time prior to the downturn, we were selling, let's say 7 million transactions per year across the country, according to NAR. And in the downturn, we still sold 4.2 million. So business will maybe slide for a period of time, but it's not going to go away. And so my best advice to agents is get out there in front of it and be the people, be the real estate professionals who are going to take advantage of those buyers and sellers that will want to do something, because they're going to be in abundance. Now, the year might not be what you thought it was going to be. And John, I love your story, which you've told me before about the Reagans. And, listen, you don't know this, Alex, but John is like a celebrity himself.
Hardly.
In the industry. No, you are, because of everyone that you have connected with over the years. But when I started this year in January, I was so excited because I had made global services in United. And for those of you who travel, that's the pinnacle of success.
A lot of traveling.
The road warrior. I was so proud of myself, and I had so much travel scheduled for the year 2020. I was going to Singapore, I was going to Hong Kong, I was going to Antarctica, I would have been going to Australia, much of it business travel and personal travel. A lot of it was already planned. And so it was just going to be the best year ever. And there were so many, new companies that wanted to join us, and the business had kicked off significantly. Our numbers we were killing it. And then COVID happened. And so today I sit here and I say to myself and all of you, I couldn't care less if I get on a plane this year. It doesn't matter to me at all. But what I do care about is the success of our industry. And I care about our agents and brokers out there. And I truly care about the end consumer. And that we're able to, through all of this, find ways to provide exceptional customer service to that consumer and exceed their expectations post-COVID and in the new normal.
Well, that is a great, I know that we have a few minutes left in our discussion. So John, I want to ask you real quickly, because I think, Sherry, you're absolutely right. And I want to ask John, what, we talked about this on our prep call. What do you think leadership, what type of leadership advice can you give, especially because we do have a lot of brokers and team leads that are listening right now. What type of leadership advice can you give to folks to keep not only themselves motivated, but also, be able to motivate and keep the team going? Because I think a lot of times as brokers, we feel that we have to have all the answers and, and lead our people. You've done it so beautifully, John. Can you tell us, what advice you could give?
You know, I was very fortunate. I was talking to Lee Iacocca one day. He had taken Chrysler out of bankruptcy and turned the whole industry around. And I asked him what his business plan was for the company for the next 12 months. And he said, you know, John, it doesn't really matter because no matter what I think it's going to be, it will be something different. And the leaders that I've worked alongside with in my life have a couple of traits in common. Number one, they will pivot and they will change, as we are right now. Everybody on this call is willing to change, and that's number one. Leaders listen more than they talk. And that's an art that is lost on a lot of people. Leaders also will admit when they're wrong. There's nothing bad about standing up to your team or to your office or to your agents or to your company and saying, you know what, I made a really bad decision. I've done that, unfortunately, on many occasions, Alex. But you know what? People are forgiving if you're authentic and you tell the truth. And those are some of the traits that I think are going to power people through right now. Authenticity is the word that I keep coming back to. Leaders today are going to be authentic. They have to be the real deal, because right now that's all that's going to matter.
I love that, John. And authenticity is, one of the core values that we live by, and it's so true. And Alex, what I would add to that is that people are looking for leaders to lead today. They want someone to stand up and make a decision, right or wrong. Don't stand by the sidelines and wait. Stand up and lead your teams. And as John points out, making a mistake is not a mistake. It's a learning experience on how not to do that same thing again.
Right.
People are very forgiving when you're very candid about the fact that at the time you thought that the facts supported what you were doing. Later on, it turned out not to be the case. Hiding from it solves nothing.
Right. Well, I think that's like the best piece of advice, and I could listen to the two of you talk about that subject for a long time, because I think that a lot of times brokers do feel like they have to have the answer, and we're so scared of making a mistake. And to hear from both of you saying that it not only is it okay to make a mistake, it is actually bad to not actually make a decision, even if it's a wrong decision, because it's that important that you move forward and move your people forward. So that's what I'm hearing, and I love it. We have a question here, and then I actually want to show you something. How different do you see the industry in 10 years, and what will the effects of technology be on broker owners? And obviously Propy is a tech company, but yeah, what do you think is going to change, especially with technology, for broker owners?
Technology, I see technology as an enabler. It is, it's a device that helps agents be more efficient in their job. We know that the consumer ranks the relationship between themselves and the agent as most important. NAR tells us that year after year after year in their consumer surveys. So technology will remain very, very important in the transaction. And I do believe that one of the things that will come out of all of this is that the level of sophistication from the end-to-end transaction will escalate and come to us sooner rather than later. There will be consolidation within our industry, and more sophisticated technology will have to continue to launch and be adopted. One of the biggest problems that we have with technology in real estate and everywhere is the level of adoption. So if we just take simple tools like what you develop, Alex, what you and your company develop, and the agents just use those tools, they would be so much more successful.
Thank you.
I promise you that every company has many more resources than the agents are aware of. It's all there in the tool chest, and it's right in front of you.
Right. So there is we'll definitely get into that. I do, just to let everybody know on the call, we at Propy, we definitely have a different outlook of how the transaction is done. And one of our biggest products, which we are announcing, is our consumer interface product, which I know, John, you've been able to see, where finally agents can share in real time status of what's happening to the transaction, all the way from when an offer is, it's put, listings put on the MLS, to being able to track all the offers going in. The consumers getting real-time updates. And so we're gonna be talking about our consumer interface. So we'll be doing a demo after this call. So after we say goodbye to our wonderful panelists, anybody who wants to stay and see the demo, I'll be doing a demo for that. But I do wanna actually add one last thing. There's a question for you, Sherry. Sherry, could you share with us what made you, and I think you only have a minute left, could you share with us what made you strong in your brokerage during the last crisis?
Well, during the last crisis, I have to say, and each and every day, I focus on what I believe in. And so if you build your brokerage, you build a franchise brand, whatever it is you're building, Alex, in your case, you're building technology. If you believe that what you've built is absolutely right, then you don't have anything to worry about. The biggest mistake that people make is that they're always focused on the competition, looking, in all of these different directions. Just don't do that. Focus in on what your goals are and what you want to achieve. Believe in yourself first and foremost, and all of those great things will happen. It sounds corny, but it has served me well over 30 plus years in this industry, and I know it will continue to do so. So Alex, I want to say thank you so much for having me on. John, it's so good to see you on Zoom.
Well, thank you so much, Sherry. I actually would like to, we're going to say goodbye to you, but we'll continue to answer questions. And thank you so much for sharing with us. I have one thing here. So John, I have a surprise for you.
Oh my gosh.
Oh my gosh.
Oh.
I wanted to show Sherry this before.
I can see it. So,
so Sherry,
John, you look amazing. You're so handsome. You still are today.
So our friend Bernice Ross sent me this picture. This is the day before you went out on your own, John, and started your own brokerage. And I don't know if you remember taking this picture, but that's Bernice right next to you. And she said, and so Sherry knows about this surprise. And so I wanted to show you this because I think that this is a great ending. We're going to actually get to questions, but I wanted to show you this picture. What was this guy thinking when he was taking this picture? John, do you remember?
I can remember that evening very well. I was talking to Jack Douglas. He could tell there was something different about me that night. I'd worked for him for 18 years. And I think he probably knew in the back of his mind what I was contemplating doing. And he said, life is like going to college. You sign up for different courses, and if they don't work, you try a different course, and you sign up again, and you take it again next semester. And I think he was telling me to go start my own company.
Wow. Well,
and it's great advice. If you think of life as a college course or a series of courses, you do well in some of them, you don't do as well in others, and you sign up and you take them again. It's great advice.
So, I mean, I just wanted to show you this because look at how far you've come and, now giving advice back to the rest of us. So I'm actually going to get into questions and demos. I just wanted to leave the listeners with a couple of things. I think I spoke about our consumer interface that's being released for Propy. So those of you who want to do a demo on Propy, we will be doing this. This is again, being able to manage your offer management and also tracking your transaction and giving that interface and that, transparency to your seller. Never before been done. And so if you're interested in this, you don't want to miss this. And I'll be doing the demo after this webinar. And then of course, all the webinars that we've been doing, please text me or reach out to us because we have such amazing material from those webinars, from everybody from Josh Hurley, who's been doing an online brokerage for 4,400 agents remotely for the past 10 years. He gave amazing advice. Everything from finances with Rob Hahn, the notorious ROB, to Tammy Bunnell. And then indie brokers. I mean, these two ladies, between the two of them, had opened 100 transactions in the past, like, since COVID happened. This is Courtney Pels and Jackie Soto. They're just killing it. How to market. That was with Katie Lance and Kenny Trung. If you want a recording of that webinar, you should let us know, because Kenny and Katie went on their computer. They showed us all their stuff that they're using. And then obviously, last but not least, Mauricio, who was last week, and he was talking about what the reopening is and how he's pivoting as well. And as including today with Sherry and John and all the wisdom that we're getting here as well. And another thing, our next webinar is going to be about foreign investments. For those of you that are on the call, Lennar is actually a customer of Propy, and we built out their, cross-border transaction platform. And so we're seeing more interest that's coming out. And I think every time there's a downturn, you see more foreign money or foreign interest coming into the United States. And we're also going to hear by Stephen Kultner, who is the CEO of Douglas Elliman on the Western region. So that's our next one. And now we actually have a slew of questions that I see here. And I guess you're going to have to take it, John, since take the question. So the question is, I'm wondering, from Jack Golf, he's wondering, what do you need to be a real estate agent? Was wondering what you need to get to, So there was a question for John, and I think Jack was asking, what do you need to be a real estate, maybe because I'm not quite understanding his question. Need to get to be a real estate agent like you. So like what advice you can give to new agents, it sounds like.
Agents. It's an industry that you have to love, because it's 24/7, as we all know. If you look at it as a job, you're not going to do very well. You have to think about your career from the time you get up to the time you go to bed, as I said earlier. But the one thing that I think stands out in the people that I've watched do well is the fact that they are absolutely ethical in how they conduct their business. I think we're moving into a whole different chapter right now in the world, and ethical conduct is going to be a part of it.
Mm-hmm. Got it. And then I think there was another question about what is it? Oh, actually, I have a question. You've led numerous companies. What is your secret? How do you pivot and change? What are you telling yourself, in changing times? How are you doing that? What's your secret?
Alex, I have a theory, and that is that we all have an Achilles heel. I have an Achilles heel. Everyone has an Achilles heel. And in the business world, I've looked at the horizon 3 times and felt that there was a void someplace for our company of a different character, of a different kind. And so 3 times I've launched companies. But it's looking at the horizon and finding that void that you can step into. Moments like this create great opportunities. I got into the top end of the LA marketplace in the late 1980s. It was a horrible market, but the big names got too lazy to show up for their clients. And they were too lazy to hold an open house when nobody came. I wasn't. I did do all of those things, as a lot of people on this call do. And I stepped in where competitors had been. So voids are created in moments like this.
Right, got it. I think that's so true. So if anybody has any other questions, let us know. I'm actually good. I think that is pretty much a wrap. We keep our webinars to about 40, 45 minutes. We are going to do a demo at the end of this, but any last words, John, that you would like to share with our listeners right now? I actually see on Facebook there's a bunch of people, and so what are some last words that you have for our listeners here? Because it seems like, I feel like last year we were all worried about like venture back brokerage, iBuyers, and online leads and all sorts of things. And this time around, we're less worried. It's weird. We're not worried about it at all.
Right.
Like, I feel like people aren't even thinking about it. So
Right.
so now with the new worries, what is your advice to our listeners?
Alex, we are in one of those industries that is going to be changed, but will survive. And there are a lot of industries that may not come out of this whole and intact and part of the new world. People need what we do. And this is our chance to do it better than we've done it in the past. It's our chance to become more efficient, more streamlined, and to be a better service provider than we've been. So we are in the right business at the right time. I know it doesn't feel like it. I know it doesn't seem it, but we are in the right business. People are always going to want a house, always want a place to live. So we're in the right industry.
Well, thank you so much, John. You can stick. Let me know if you want to stay, because I know you've seen this demo already. What do you think about what Propy's doing with our offer management and some of the things we're doing? You know what?
I think it's efficient. It's streamlined. It's great, and I think it's a great product, Alex. I really do.
Yeah. What if you had this product when would you? I mean, when you had
spreadsheets.
Instead of spreadsheets, how much time would you have saved? How much?
How many evenings were we all up using spreadsheets on 18 offers on a property? Oh gosh, a lot of time.
or summaries. I know. I think the same thing. Well, while we're developing this product, is like, man, I wish I had this when I had 50 offers on a deal, and I was driving myself crazy. But thank you so much. And we're going to stick around. I'm just going to share my screen, and we're going to actually get into the Propy demo and show everyone what we're doing with offer management and the consumer interface. So feel free to, I'm actually going to change my screen right now. If you have any questions, go ahead and do it on the chat. We're actually going to convert everybody so that folks are not muted if you're an attendee, and you can turn your cameras. So feel free to ask. I don't know, John, how long you're going to stay on. If you can stay on, for this, let me know. We're going to change everybody up, and then I'm going to actually go through a quick demo right now of the offer management platform. Hold on one second.
Alex, I'm going to sign off. Thank you so much for today. I really appreciate it.
All right. Thank you, John.
Take care.
All right. So give me a second. I am actually going.
Hello.
Hi. Okay.
How's it going?
Good. Hold on, folks. I'm actually going to go in and share my screen, and I think we unmuted everybody on the call, so that if you have any questions or any questions during the demo, you can ask it. I just need to go in and actually, sorry. There it is. All right, we are in. So here is the Propy consumer interface demo. So for those of you who have heard of Propy, we actually have products. And the two products that we're going to go through right now is the consumer interface and the offer management screen. Give me a second. So I'm going to show everybody on the call the first product, which is offer management. And I think this is usually something that is different for folks, just because offer management is such a new thing. But where does offers start? Offers management starts in any place that it all starts on the MLS. This is where most offers originate. And so instead of having a URL or a please send all offers to this email address, Propy replaces that with a URL here. And so here, what the buyer's agent does is they click on this URL, and it goes into the offers platform, where you can then go in and the buyer's agent can make an offer. So for the folks on the call that hasn't seen this interface, this is where the buyer's agent makes the offer, and everything from contingencies to inspection. Brokers really love the next part, which is having your preferred services as a drop down, so the buyer's agent can pick or use their own. You can add additional terms to this and attach the contract to offer management. And so once the contract's attached, the offer is automatically summarized, and you can review the contract and you submit that offer to the listing agent. And once the listing agent receives the offer, they can accept, counter, or reject the offer. Again, everything's summarized, and so they can review it and decide what to do with it. The most important thing here is really the next screen, which is what Propy's been launching, which is the more of the consumer interface. So this is the dashboard. Let's say you have like 10 offers this particular property. Well, instead of having to do a spreadsheet, what you can do here is you can actually take a look and see in a quick glance what it is. But the more important thing is that this spreadsheet can actually be shared with your seller. And so anytime an offer comes in, you still have to review the offer with your seller, but they can follow along in real time and see the contracts and see that an offer is being made with a timestamp of those offers. So your seller overnight can actually just follow the transaction. That makes it very powerful. Lastly, what we have here is once the offer is finally accepted, you can then convert this into the transaction management platform. So that is where and what we believe at Propy is that all that data that comes in to the offers will now spill into transaction management, and that it makes it super easy for your TC to follow along. And lastly, what we also have is the consumer interface for the transaction management platform. So the big thing here is what Propy has is that you see these steps after the transaction gets into escrow. You can share these steps with your consumers, and the consumer during the transaction can click and see their purchase agreement, their deposit receipt, their disclosures. And so what we really believe in is that this is the future of transaction, this type of transparency for agents, for brokers, and for the consumer, which we believe is really going to change the consumer experience. So does anybody have any questions?
Raising hands for questions? I guess not. I do have a quick.
Yes.
So what third-party integrations or steps are not needed by this platform?
There are no third-party integrations that are needed. I mean, you would simply really sign up for Propy, and what we would do is you would get, time you get a listing, then what would happen is you put your listing in and you get a link, and you can produce the link, and you can not only put it on your offer management or your MLS private remarks, but we've had agents that are now starting to look at putting it also in their marketing or things like that. So there isn't an integration that you need. You can simply sign up. Any other questions? Does that answer your question, Gwyneth?
Sorry, unmute. Yes, and I was also thinking about title companies and escrow agents, and do they need to be involved?
Well, not for offers. So, what we're looking at is to help agents streamline brokers to, if you have a preferred service for that to be, where you can really help monetize that. The second thing we're looking at is to really help agents get more business. And so that offer piece, you don't need the title company. It's really a part of organizing and streamlining your negotiations and the offer management part of it. Once you go into contract, what happens then is that you then have, somebody's phone is on. Once you go into contract, then at that point you can, if you, let's say you have a different transaction management system, then all you have to do is, you know, take the offer and do it there. But if you have Propy, what we're saying is that we can take all that data and actually flow it into transaction management and even make it more transparent. But the ideal thing is in transaction management to have your title company participate, because then the experience would be better, but you don't need them for offers.
Excellent, thank you. Sounds like a nice smooth user experience.
Yes, yes. You know, we had a deal in Los Angeles right before COVID that had 100 offers on it in 3 days. It would have been impossible for this agent to manage without this type of system, and they got a huge bidding war for that. And so, yeah. Okay. Okay. Any other questions? All right. So we are going to, you know, I think everybody that's on this webinar will send a follow-up email with a, oh, Letty, I didn't realize, hi. So what we'll do is we will send a follow-up email. If you have any questions, please, you know, feel free to, you know, email us if you want. We'll send you a video of this demo, but absolutely what we are looking at is, you know, we're working with not only brokers, but also agents. And if you want, we would love to work with you. Okay. All right. Thank you. Does anybody have any other questions before we, you know, sign off here? Okay. All right, guys. Thank you so much for on this webinar, and we will talk to you soon. Bye.